Hi, this is Comparing Wine Styles. For 30 minutes, we will chat about what makes wine from the same varietal, same region, made by two different wineries taste differently. We'll talk what we're doing to make the wine our own signature style. I'm Shae Frichette, co-owner and winemaker for co-owner of Frichette Winery and winemaker for Shae Wines. And joining me is Amy Johnson of Muret-Gaston. Amy's a good friend of mine and also one of my colleagues in wine, her family winery. It's just minutes from my winery here in Eastern Washington. Amy, happy Wine Wednesday.
Cheers to that. Really excited to be here with you, Shae. Always love doing things with our Benton City neighbors. So much fun.
Yeah, so for anyone listening, follow us both here on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and keep up with us on Instagram. And Amy, it's so dope to get to chat with you. We're going to be chatting wine styles. We're going to look at some of the wines that we both make and kind of give a little bit of the secrets of what we do in the background, behind the scenes, to make our wines taste a little bit differently. But if you could sum up like what your wine style is over there at Muret-Gaston, like how would you summarize like your style, your winemaking style? What is it that you guys are trying to do?
We make a few different brands, of course, but we really fell in love with kind of the French style. And so that's kind of our house style. We do a lot of reds and we're branching into whites. This year, we're releasing a lot more whites, but we really like to stick to French oak and French varietals and just kind of do that. There's so much to choose from. You just have to pick your favorites and go with that because wow, how many varietals are out there? So many, and so many different styles. So we've chosen to stick with that, and that really reflects in our brand name, Muret-Gaston. Muret is my mom's maiden name, which is French, and Gaston is Kyle's mom's maiden name, which is French. So it kind of just all fit and came together. Easy choice to be made.
Wow, geez, small world. Just that is very interesting. I didn't know that about that. Well, so let's talk specifically. So, with our style, we do for Frichette, we focus mostly on Bordeaux varieties. And when it comes to our house style, I think I hear this a lot with other wineries, though, is that we want to make wines. I don't even want to use the A word, approachable, but we do want to make wines that are insanely smooth, that are just a fruit bomb, like just super fruit. Driven and good tannin structure, so it has like something else there to tantalize your palate. And so we'll kind of talk about some of the things we do in the production facility to make those things happen. I know both of us really focus on reds and we do a little bit of white wines, so I want to start there. You guys, before we go into the wine that you're going to be talking about tonight, tell me about all the white wine varieties you guys work with.
Well, originally we only worked with one or two, but this year we got really excited because we work with a fantastic grower called Boucher Vineyards, and he had a few things available, and we went with that. So we have been doing Chardonnay for several years, and that was French Creek Vineyard. Just absolutely loved it, and we actually age it in concrete for a little different spin on our winemaking style. And it's, of course, from France. The concrete egg it's non-blanc, and that adds something a little bit different. Most people are surprised when they try it. We have added a Sauvignon Blanc, a Picpoul, a Grenache Blanc, and then a Blanc blend of white Rhone varietals. So we have quite a bit for everything. We also agree with you, Shae. There's a wine for every time. You don't always have to drink red. You can drink white. Even if your preference is one or the other, there's a wine for every time.
That's right. And we're not really talking rosé here, but I have to tell you, Shannon dropped into the comments. She goes, "Oh, but a great rosé." And so she must know the two of us because we are insane about rosé. And I know we're both on the same page when we say that it's rosé season every season, but too bad we're not talking rosé today. I think that we should do this again and get our buddy Kelly from Hightower right down the street to join us, and it will be all about rosé. So thank you, Shannon, for the drop in the comments on that, because I don't know if you knew this, but you just gave us a topic for our next event.
Well, we can talk all day about rosé.
That's right. Let's get into your Chardonnay. I'm going to talk our Simeone. And although these are two totally different varieties, I do want to talk about how you guys treat your Chardonnay and then how we treat our Simeone. I think that will kind of give some indication about how we bring these white wines in and kind of what we do to them. So how do you make your Chardonnay? And what are you trying to get from the types of things you do for that you do in the production facility for that Chardonnay?
So for the Chardonnay, we wanted it to be traditionally like the varietal, but not really oaky and buttery. A lot of people are starting to move away from that, and we just wanted to kind of stay true to the varietal and give it a round mouthfeel and kind of be a bigger, bolder wine that stands up to food and conversation. So what we do is we pick it from French Creek Vineyard, and then we age it in concrete. And I chose this seat right here. If you can see right here, this is my concrete egg. It's a non-blanc. And we do about 70% in concrete, which is one full egg. And then we have two new French oak barrels that we add to it. So it's got a hint of oak to it, but that concrete really gives it a burst of minerality. And we also find that when we do it in the non-blanc egg, instead of it being in a barrel where you get a trough of lees, in the concrete egg, it has a nice round bottom. So you're exposing it to a lot more lees contact during fermentation and aging. And it gives it a nice round mouthfeel without being overly buttery. So it's super interesting, super fun. And it's really fun when we give it to people as a surprise and delight and not tell them what it is and see what their idea of the wine is. And sometimes they don't even guess Chardonnay, and sometimes they nail it. So super interesting to see what people think about Chardonnay.
Awesome. Well, how long have you been working with that concrete egg?
Oh, I think this is our 5th vintage of it.
Oh gosh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We also do have a very giant red concrete tank, a little different shape, different actions happening in primary fermentation, but same thing. It's a new tool. There's 1,000 ways to make wine. No way is wrong. It just turns into your own house style.
Of course, exactly. And that's the beauty of what we're talking about today is your house style or your wine style. Well, that Chardonnay sounds absolutely delicious. And I love that you have most of it in concrete egg, but then you're still using some barrel aging on that too. That sounds like so much fun. I'll talk about our Simeone. Simeone is a beautiful white wine variety. We get this wine, the wine grapes, from a vineyard here on Red Mountain called Arts Vineyard, planted by the late Fred Arts. And it's a phenomenal vineyard that overlooks the Yakima River. So not only are they producing dope wine grapes there, but it has a dope view. It's like one of my favorite viewpoints on the mountain. So we pulled this Simeone from that vineyard, and our process is very simple. We ferment and tank, and then we sit it in a little bit of neutral oak for about 8 months before we bring it to bottle. The thing about this Simeone is, I know for Amy, like you guys do like to have characteristics in your wines as well. Like you put your Chardonnay in the concrete egg that you have there. And for us, we choose to use all neutral oak on ours. And so I think that's kind of a differentiator between like how we're treating those white wines. But this one has beautiful pear characteristics, some Granny Smith apple, a little bit of citrus to it. And because it sits in that oak, you get some really nice light toast on it. Just kind of like when you first put bread into your toaster, like right when you smell it, that's kind of the aromatic and the flavor that you get from that. So I enjoy the Simeone I actually have it by itself, but I love it with Thai food. It's one of my favorite cuisines to pair it with.
So you're making my mouth water, Shae, but can you tell people exactly what neutral oak means? I've run into so many people who are like, is that a brand? Is that a thing? So just run people through it. Not everybody knows what terms we throw around every day.
I know. I don't know why we won't just say like a used oak barrel, but essentially like that's what it is. I think about it like tea. So if you have your tea in a cup and it's just flavorful and intense, but then when you finish that cup, you just like, I want a little bit more. So you put a little more hot water, and you notice that tea bag is a little less intense, but you still love it. It's beautiful, and you're noticing some things in it that maybe you didn't notice before. Then that third time you use it, it's like, well, you know what? I can faintly taste. I'm not getting a whole lot. And so that's how we look at the progression of barrels. When we use it and it's brand new, you get more intensity. And then as that barrel is used, then you don't get those flavor characteristics that you did from the brand new barrel. So we consider it a used oak barrel or neutral because it's not providing those intense flavor characteristics that you would get when it was a brand new barrel. Thanks, Amy, for pointing that out. I appreciate that because sometimes we throw these terms out there and it's just like, don't we just walk around all day talking about neutral, like neutral oak? Well, I want to just let everyone know we're talking wine styles. What makes wine from the same varietal, same region, made by two different wineries, taste differently. What are we doing to make the wine our own signature style? I'm Shae Frichette with Frichette Winery, and I have one of my BFFs in wine, Amy Johnson of Muret-Gaston. Amy, we're going to move on and talk about some reds. Let's talk Cabernet Sauvignon. Let's first talk about the varietal, and then we'll go into how we treat them in our facilities. So, Cabernet Sauvignon, first off, is actually the most widely grown red wine varietal in our state. And hashtag, we're coming up on Washington Wine Month. So, Cab is a big deal. A lot of tasting rooms you go into, they may have Cabernet Sauvignon or a Cab Sauv blend. Tell me about what are some of the things about Cab that you know Cab to be, or that you appreciate about Cabernet Sauvignon?
Well, the interesting thing I find about Cab, number one, it's very popular, but also number two, people feel very comfortable ordering it. It's usually their first foray into red wine. And there's so many different ways. You can make it very fruit forward, very neutral oak, things like that. And it can be a very easy drinker, very light. But you can also pick it from more intense regions, hence Red Mountain AVA, which I'm sure you will talk about. And it can be really big and bold and stand up to some major proteins and things like that. It's super nuanced, and it really likes sometimes to be blended with a little bit other of Bordeaux varietals to give it a little more texture and interest. But it also can be 100% varietal. It's very versatile. It's a great grape to work with, and it's been grown in this area for so long. The growers that do grow it are phenomenal at it. So we actually source from another one of our favorite neighbors up there. If I can get it close enough to the camera, it's our Heart of the Hill Cabernet, and that means it's grown on Red Mountain right in the center. And that is grown by the Williams family, who run Kiona Winery, and they've been growing Cab for a lot. I don't even remember how old these vines are. I should have that posted into memory, but it's just fantastic, and it's super fun to work with. It smells amazing when it comes in. We use native ferment because the vineyard has been established for so long. We have a lot of historical data on how the yeast behave during fermentation, and so we know how to take care of it to complete primary fermentation. And we feel like it gives it just a little bit more sense of place, that you can really tell that it's coming from that Red Mountain AVA and that specific vineyard. It's great.
Now, I love Heart of the Hill Vineyard. We use that site as well. But I have to go back to something you said that I would love to get your explanation on. So you talked about native ferment. So can you just talk a little bit more about what native ferment is? What the heck does that mean?
Well, it's really a simple term, but it sounds fancy. Once again, like neutral barrels. Native ferment means that yeast is living everywhere in our life. It's on your kitchen counter. It's in your soil, in your garden. It's everywhere. But all of them are slightly different strains. And what we found is, after years of being established in the vineyard, each vineyard becomes its own micro organism of yeast, and different things are there. And so when you know what is there and you know how to take care of it and how to feed it and nurture it, it can go through its own primary fermentation. Now, the problem is with fermentation like that, based on what the weather was during the harvest season, some of the strains could be stronger and some could be weaker. And so if you are not paying attention to it and understand how it works, your primary fermentation could stall out and you would be in trouble. Then you would have a faulty wine. So what you really need to do is make sure it's getting enough air and the temperature is correct. And so instead of doing just scheduled punch downs and scheduled aeration and pump overs and things like that, we actually go in, take its temperature, run analysis, do these sort of things, and make sure it's healthy, happy, and moving forward. So it's a little bit more work, but we feel like it gives a little bit more nuance to the wine. And it also gives a chance for winemakers just to geek out and try to figure out what strain's working now and what's happening next.
Perfect explanation of that. So in addition to native fermentation, what else are you doing with that Cabernet Sauvignon that makes it like your signature style? What are the types of things that you guys are doing in the production facility to kind of make that more Muret-Gaston? And then as you tell us about that, can you talk about why you do those things? Like what we would notice in that wine based on those things that you're doing?
Well, so what we do is we actually do only 1 ton ferment, and it's hand picked as well. technology is getting a lot better, especially with some labor changes that are happening right now. But machine picked used to be, it was a little rougher. There was a little more mog in the material when it came in. Mog is material other than grapes. Really technical again, guys. Pretty simple to follow through. But when you get those, you can get really green characteristics or things like that. And so we always use hand-picked, which means it's very clean, just the grapes, just the clusters. And we do whole berry fermentation, which gives it a lot more skin to juice contact, which is very intense and just brings out that lovely boldness of Red Mountain Cabernet. And then when we do 1 ton fermenters, that means we're doing all the manual punch downs, which means we go in and we push the cap down into the juice to get skin contact and keep the heat even, and make sure that the yeast get a little bit of air every time and stay healthy. And we find that that gentleness really makes a difference and gives it a lot more fullness and softness as well. I know those two don't really seem to go together, but they do. What you want is a finely knit wine that all the components come together to just give you a lot of pleasure when you're drinking it. And we also put our Muret-Gaston into new and used French oak, which can give it a little bit of structure, because Red Mountain can have a lot of tannins, and you want to make sure you give it a nice balance so it's easy to drink and complement your food and company.
Fantastic. I love, there's some of the things that you do in working with that cab that we also do in our production facility, and working with the cab that we have here. So the Cabernet Sauvignon that I'm featuring tonight is a cab from a vineyard that's actually right up the road from Heart of the Hill. So this vineyard is Shae 32, and Shae 32 is higher elevation than Heart of the Hill. I would say, I'm guessing that it's probably like maybe a 3/4 of a mile if we were to drive it. Probably not even that far, but the sites are pretty, I guess what I'm saying is those sites are pretty close. So Shae 32 Vineyard is here on Red Mountain. This cab is 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. I consider a vineyard designate cab because the fruit is 100% from this vineyard, versus Cabernet Sauvignon that's from, part of it's from one vineyard, the other part of the cab is from another vineyard, and we blend that. So this is 100% from Shae 32 Vineyard, which I think it's a lot of fun. So just like you, Amy, this fruit is handpicked, comes into our production facility, actually on our crush pad. We do what's called crush to stem, where we remove the berries, and then we gently kind of crush those a little bit. It makes the juice a little easier to come out of the grapes. You're using 1 ton fermenters. We're using half-ton macro bins. Like you guys were punching down twice a day. So
tell me how much you eat during harvest.
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, it is a workout. And if any of you are very interested in seeing the behind the scenes of punch downs, and you have to follow at Frichette Winery and at Muret-Gaston, because I don't know if our husbands even work. Do they do the punch downs? Because I think if you look at our Instagram handles, it's the two of us. How did these guys fool us into doing the punch downs, Amy? I literally, if we look at our Instagram, I believe that most of the images are the two of us doing those punch downs.
I finally had to put it in, time lapse to make it look like I was getting them all done in a reasonable amount of time.
So, okay, day one punch downs are the worst. So again, what punch downs are is the cap will rise, so you get the skins at the top, and the flavor and the tannin's going to come from the skins of the grapes and so forth. What we're doing is we're just punching down the skins and keeping it in contact with the juice, so that we're extracting color, we're extracting flavor, we're extracting tannin. So it's hard work. It really is. It is, really
but
there's also, but it's important work.
As that punch down loosens up, as those skins break apart, the stratus is easier to punch through. And then you have to be careful. You don't want to slam that punch down thing all the way to the bottom and crush those seeds or any rachis that might be left, because you could get green tannins and things like that. So there's an art, both like you got to break through, and then like, oh, careful. So never
exactly. And I think what the result, what makes us similar, is that we do want beautifully smooth wines, that we don't get the extraction or things that we don't want into it. So that the quality of your punch down, I guess, is very important.
Right. So, and that's technically the difference of, I guess we didn't touch on it, why hand punch downs are a little more gentle and create a little bit different wine than machine done, because everybody says, hey, why don't you just have a machine do that? Well, there's a reason. There's a winemaker's touch.
There is. At least that's what we tell ourselves, right?
The only
No,
way
there's
we can
truth
do
in
it.
that. There is truth in that. There's truth in that. And I do, I wouldn't, there's a part of me that loves punch downs. Meredith is saying that we make it look easy.
Oh,
The
she
pictures
did it
we make
too.
it in the video makes it look easy, but it's exhausting. But it's very worth it for the result that we're trying to get. Like you, Amy, we do this cab sees brand new and neutral. Here's that word again: brand new and neutral French oak. So we age for anywhere between 18 to 24 months, depending on the vintage. But since you're using Red Mountain fruit in that Muret-Gaston Heart of the Hill Cabernet Sauvignon, then what I know about your wine is that it is some of the things that I love is just fruit driven. It's got great tannin structure, because those are two of the things that you get with Red Mountain fruit. So
well,
what's
and
fun
Red
is
Mountain is also, not only is it drinkable when we release it, but Red Mountain can age really, really well, because not only does it have a lot of tannins that we manage, but it has nice acid. And so they work together to really create a beautiful wine every year it's in the bottle. And I've yet to open a bottle of Red Mountain wine, maybe I should try more, that I haven't said, oh, it's past its prime. I'm always like, wow, this is amazing. So,
well, it's ageability is key. I mean, like for a lot of folks, especially the folks who are watching, I'm seeing Leslie up here, and Allison and Debbie, Meredith and Mary. For a lot of folks, they are they know they've had Red Mountain wines. And if you're part of like wine clubs, I know both of us, we have wine clubs. If you're part of wine clubs and you're getting wine, some of those wines you're not drinking right away. And so those wines may sit. And so it's great to know that we're making wines that will age beautifully well, that you can open for dinner tonight, or for like open that bottle night. Amy, we did that together a few years ago. I know that's coming up on Saturday. So you can hold those wines and let them sit and open them in 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 10 years. So I think both of these calves, I'm very familiar with your wines. I think Kyle and you do a phenomenal job over there. And so I haven't had your Heart of the Hill, but just based on the way you describe it, and knowing that you guys have such a stellar winemaking style, I can't wait to try it. Hey guys,
sounds like you just made a date for Saturday night. We'll open that bottle.
Let's do it. Open that bottle night. Sounds like we're having Muret-Gaston and Frichette. For those of you who are watching, we're talking wine styles. What makes wine from the same varietal, same region, made by two different wineries, taste differently? What are we doing to make the wine our own signature style? I'm Shae Frichette of Frichette Winery, and I have one of my BFFs in wine, Amy Johnson of Muret-Gaston. So Amy, let's talk Malbec. We're going to switch it up. We're going from the most widely produced, the most widely grown red wine grape variety to a variety that some folks may not really be as familiar with. And we don't grow as much of this variety as we do some of our other varieties in the state of Washington. So Malbec, give me just like maybe 6 words to describe like what you think of Malbec.
So this is our first year actually producing it for ourselves. We do a lot of custom crush for brand new wineries who are getting ready and don't have a lot of equipment or space. And so we've worked with Malbec a lot, but this is our first year producing it for ourselves. It's a 2019 and it's under our Purple Star label. As you can see, I am in love. It is all the dark fruits, the intense purple color goes so great with heavy proteins, lamb and steak and mushrooms and all of that. I can't open enough of it, guys. That's all I have to say. Derek, you're going to have to come out and try it.
Derek, thanks so much for joining us. I know you are a Red Mountain fan, and to have that Muret-Gaston has to be phenomenal. So Malbec, super fun, food friendly. You mentioned some foods there. Amy, I know we're just looking at you. You're probably just hearing my voice here, but
it's right. I'll stay right here.
It's super food friendly. Gosh, you mentioned things like, I heard you say lamb. I love our Malbec, and almost any Malbec I've had. with a Moroccan spice lamb stew. I'm from the South, and that is not a dish that we typically make in the South. But let me tell you, I've perfected a Moroccan spice lamb stew, and it pairs amazingly well with Malbec. So the Malbec you have is under your Purple Star label. So really quickly, can you tell the difference? Talk about like your Purple Star and then your Muret-Gaston, just to so folks understand those, because you know those two labels.
Well, we mentioned earlier, and not everybody might have been on, but there's a wine for every time. And we really believe that we wanted to use and showcase kind of different winemaking styles, but also make sure that we had affordable wine for everyday sippers with friends and family. I have a classic example of my own family at Thanksgiving. We have large gatherings, well, pre-COVID, 20 to 50 people, depending on who was in town. And I have this Uncle Richard who always showed up and said, I only drink 90-point wines by Wine Spectator. I'm like, oh, fabulous. What'd you bring? Nothing. I didn't bring anything. And then we also have my Aunt Veronica, who shows up, gives you the big squeeze and the kiss on the cheek and just says, what are we having? And then immediately adds an ice cube and a little bit of Sprite to pick it up. So we want to have a wine for every time. And that's where our Purple Star is. We make it on bigger lots. We do pump overs instead of hand punch downs. We source from multiple different vineyards. So even if it is 100% cab, it might come from different vineyards, that sort of thing. And it just makes it much more cost friendly, but it's still really quality, and it does score over 90. So it fits those categories. A little less oak on it and a little less time in barrel. So it makes it a little bit more cost friendly. This one, the reason it made our Purple Star label is because it's actually a crop sharing project we did with a local vineyard owner around the corner here. He's not even 5 miles from us. And he didn't have a buyer for the fruit. He came to us and he says, if I provide the fruit, you provide the winemaking skill. Once it's in bottle and being sold, we split the profits. And I was like, yes, I want to work with Malbec. Yes, I want to do this. So that's how that came in. And I think that really illustrates how collaborative this area is, not only with making wine, but making wine projects and doing wine dinners together. I think you and I have a wine dinner coming up soon in a couple of
We
months.
do. Yes.
We love to work together because not only do we love our own wine and love making wine, we love drinking
Each other's wines. That's right. That's the best part of it. Yes. Because the thing about it is, like, even though, just like this dialogue here, even though we're sourcing some of the same varieties and even from the same areas where vineyards are so close, we still have our own take on it. So it's so much fun getting to try other wines. I have our Malbec. We're actually just releasing this one in our March Wine Club. So this is a new wine. Yeah, it's a 2019 100% Malbec from Red Mountain. The thing that I love about this is I do look for a little bit of spice in Malbec. I love that this has a little bit of peppercorn on it. It's full body, just like some of our other wines. Beautiful finish on it. A lot of dark fruit. Great tannin structure. Amazing with foods that have a little bit of spice. I love it with Moroccan spice lamb stew. I'll have it with a skirt steak with chimichurri any day, any day. Give me some carne asada. That would pair really well with this Malbec. So I am just excited about what you're doing with your Malbec. This one, like you, I know you mentioned that you guys are doing a little less oak. We do the same oak profile that we do with our Cabernet Sauvignon. Given this some beautiful brand new French oak, a little bit of neutral oak tends to be our barrel program, but I think that it's a rock star stellar wine. So I'm excited to get to try it. So we'll get together for Open That Bottle Night, which is coming up this Saturday. And I'll just have to bring, have some of our wines that maybe we've been holding on to, some of these wines, and you bring some of your wines, and it's a party. Amy, gosh, this went by fast, didn't it? We've got to wrap this thing up.
There's so much to talk about.
I know.
So much.
And Experience 46 Degrees, love that you are here. I love that for your business, you are collaboration. So you bring us all together in some of the phenomenal events that you have. I appreciate the folks who are watching on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. We appreciate you. Keep in mind that March is #WildWine Month. And this Saturday is Open That Bottle Night. So start planning what you want to open. Amy, before we go, can you let us know where the best place is to find you and see some of the behind the scenes?
So we would love for you to join us, of course, here on LinkedIn, which Shae has encouraged me to get more active on. And Instagram, we're at Muret-Gaston. We are also on Facebook, and we also have our second brand, Purple Star. So feel free to follow us on any of those. And then I saw a comment that I should probably address. We are doing a collaborative wine dinner for Washington Wine Month at the Lodge at Columbia Point, which is in Richland on the water. Gorgeous. And it's a collaborative dinner between multiple winemakers, and there's 2 from Walla Walla, 2 from Prosser, and 2 from Red Mountain area. And it's going to be a fabulous dinner. Tickets will be available on the Lodge's site soon, and then I will be posting it on mine, and I'm sure Shae will post it on hers. And if you really want to cap off the evening, book a night at the Lodge after the dinner and enjoy your night.
I totally agree with that. Yes. So meet us at that dinner. Amy and I always have fun when we're doing things together. We'll be at Roost in Moses Lake as well for an event. Yes. So we'll be doing that in March. So a lot of amazing events in March. If you're in our area, the Lodge is one of my favorite places to stay. It's on the river. And so, yes, have dinner with us, have wine with us, and stay at the Lodge. So, Amy, it's been an absolute pleasure and always amazing to chat with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Shae Frichette. You have Amy from Muret-Gaston. If you're not already following both of us on our Instagram handles or any of our social media handles, please do so right now. Thank you guys for joining us, Amy. Let's do a cheers. I only have a little bit of wine left, but cheers to the camera. Have a beautiful night. Thank you, guys.
And here's to our next topic, rosé.
Yes, rosé all day is our next topic. We'll see you guys there soon.
Thanks for having me, Shae. It was fun.
Absolutely.